The state of insecurity in Nigeria, it's at an alarming proportion. There have been robbers. It all started in the early days called Boko Haram. And Boko Haram, as I speak, is largely dislodged. It's as if the splitter groups from those places formed another group. From Boko Haram, we began to hear about people who were shepherds, who were herdsmen, who were kidnapping. And before we know it, it got into large-scale armed robbery and kidnapping all over the place. Any part you go to seems to be the same in Nigeria. Buhari tried to fight it as the president of Federal Republic of Nigeria, but it overpowered him, if you permit my expression. Now we have Bola Ahmed Tinubu as the president, who has vowed to make sure that 2025 in particular, he says in 2025, they must have brought them under control. But they still are there. The information released from National Bureau of Statistics, NBS, just recently says every detail about how much have been paid as ransom. It opened our eyes to the fact that this is a big-time business. That's why it's a die-hard adventure. People are getting into it because they know that if they succeed, they make big-time money, and big-time money indeed. So when we look at the kind of ransom that have been paid in the geopolitical zones of Nigeria, 6 of them, and compare which one is the highest, and then prefer solution as much as it lies within us. On the whole, Nigeria, according to National Bureau of Statistics, spent 2.23 trillion in ransom in the year 2024. 2024 have not finished, but 2.23 trillion has changed hands in the business of ransom in quotes. Now, National Bureau of Statistics also broke down these expenditures, which zones paid more. Northwest zone, geopolitical zone of Nigeria, paid 1.17 trillion in ransom, northwestern part. North Central paid 469.74 billion in ransom. Remember that Northwest was trillion, 1.17 trillion. North Central paid 469.74 billion. Southwest paid 248.78 billion. Southwest happens to be where we are. It encompasses the whole of Western Nigeria, including Lagos. Northeast paid 166.14 billion. South paid 90.05 billion. Southeast, the 6th of the geopolitical zones, paid 85.44 billion. So if you come bigger and divide Nigeria into North and South, Northern Nigeria paid 1.81 trillion, while Southern Nigeria paid 424.27 billion. Rural Nigeria paid 1.44 trillion, while urban Nigeria paid 794.46 billion. Why are these demographics important to us? Rural Nigeria paid a whopping 1.81 trillion, 1.44 trillion. Now, what is the implication? That is at the root of food scarcity. That people will have to pay to go to their farm, either to cultivate or to harvest. It's at the root of food scarcity that Nigeria is facing. So the government of the day must fight this rural dimension of it with all its strength if we will not starve of food when we could produce food. That's implication number one. But let me tell you, surprise in it. Surprise, is that Southeast is the least in terms of this ransom. Southeastern Nigeria paid the least. Remember that southeastern Nigeria is where we have the IPOBs, where we have all those groups, where people are afraid to go home. I come from that place. And not until these figures were released, I didn't believe that Southeast is the safest, possibly, of the whole regions of Nigeria, in spite of what is going on there. It means that the people of Northwest are really in hell. And of course, those places are the food basket of the nation. Permit my expression. I don't mean Benue State this time. This is where food, major cash crops and food crops are produced in Nigeria. And the farmers cannot go to farm because they will be kidnapped. And then ransom will be demanded. It means that we'll be in for a big problem. So it's my pleasure, our pleasure in Brushroot Radio to call upon the government of the day to give it all it takes. Let us have security once more, as we used to have. I want to be able to drive from Lagos to Maiduguri. I have done it before. I want to be able to go to Sokoto and not fearing. I want to be able to go to Kauranamoda. I want to be able to drive on the streets from here to my village. I used to enjoy it. Stop over somewhere to Munede and enter any place and buy anything I want and fill my tank and enjoy myself. Those things have become a thing of the past because of the insecurity problem that Nigeria is experiencing. A clarion call on the government of the day to do whatever it takes. Let us be safe again in Nigeria. Thank you.